In today's show, a historic Category 5 hurricane, rising tension in the Gaza ceasefire, and a newly discovered Dr. Seuss book, plus a surge in self-deportations, a mass UPS turnaround, and a rescue on one of America's toughest peaks. Those stories and more in today's show. And the trivia question: which president has the oldest known voice recording? It's Wednesday, October 29th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Hello and welcome back to the Flyover Podcast. It's good to be back. I snuck away for a quick trip to Reno to visit a friend and had the best time. Fun facts I learned while I was there: the locals call it Nevada, not Nevada. It's 3 hours behind me on the East Coast, and the elevation over 4,500 feet, which my body quickly reminded me of. I ended up getting pretty sick and had to take a sick day yesterday, so a big thank you to Amy Hess and Christopher Lyons for covering while I was out. All right, enough about my stuffy nose. Let's take off with today's biggest headlines. Hurricane Melissa slammed into Jamaica on Tuesday with 185-mile-per-hour winds, the strongest storm landfall in the island's recorded history and one of the most powerful ever in the Atlantic. It hit near New Hope, causing landslides, widespread power outages, and major flooding, with meteorologists warning of, quote, storm of the century damage. At least 7 deaths have been reported across the Caribbean. A storm surge up to 13 feet is threatening Jamaica's southern coast, even low-lying hospitals, so patients are being moved to upper floors. Melissa is expected to cross Jamaica and reach southeastern Cuba overnight, where more than 600 people are being evacuated. Up to 40 inches of rain could fall, raising fears of dangerous landslides. The storm will likely hit the southeastern Bahamas by Wednesday evening. Red Cross officials estimate 1.5 million Jamaicans will be impacted. And if you want to help, the Flyover has partnered with Convoy for Hope, and we're matching donations up to $4,000. Find the link to donate and learn more in today's show notes. Next, Israel launched powerful strikes across Gaza on Tuesday after Hamas gunmen opened fire on Israeli troops in Rafah and returned what Israel says were only partial remains of hostage Ophir Sarsfati, a hostage already declared dead and buried twice before. Drone footage later showed that militants staged the burial right before turning the remains over, which Israeli officials called psychological warfare and a serious violation of the ceasefire. In response to the strikes, Hamas postponed the handover of another hostage's body and accused Israel of breaking the truce. 13 hostages are still unaccounted for. Meanwhile, Egyptian search crews with heavy machinery are now helping to locate remains buried under rubble. Negotiators admit both sides have breached the agreement, but say the ceasefire has not fully collapsed, at least not yet. And a brand new Dr. Seuss book, one no one knew existed, has just been found in the archives of UC San Diego's library. It's called Sing the 50 United States, starring the Cat in the Hat as he helps readers learn all 50 states, complete with the classic Seussian rhymes and wordplay. The manuscript includes original notes and a cover sketch by Dr. Seuss himself. And artist Tom Brannan will finish the illustrations in his style. The book will be published June 2nd, 2026, timed with America's 250th anniversary. And in partnership with the nonprofit First Book, copies and school supplies will be delivered to classrooms nationwide to celebrate the launch. By the way, we also have a poll question about Dr. Seuss at the end of the show. You know? Here's what's happening in politics today. Senate Democrats once again blocked a bill to reopen the federal government for the 13th time as the shutdown dragged into day 28 on Tuesday. Both sides continue blaming each other for the stalemate, and economists warn that the shutdown is now costing the U.S. billions of dollars in lost productivity and delayed services. Officials from 25 Democratic-led states have filed a lawsuit to stop the federal government from cutting off food aid benefits on November 1st. Those benefits, known as SNAP, are set to end because of the shutdown, and advocates say more than 40 million Americans could lose access to help putting meals on the table. President Trump's legal team has now filed a formal appeal of his conviction in New York, where he was found guilty of falsifying business records earlier this year. His lawyers argue prosecutors built the case on, quote, manufactured felony charges. The appeal could take months to resolve, and legal analysts say it may ultimately end up before the U.S. Supreme Court. Read more about this in today's show notes. And the U.S. military says it struck 4 more suspected drug trafficking vessels in the Eastern Pacific, leaving 14 people dead and 1 survivor in custody. This is the latest in the expanded U.S. counter-narco campaign, which has now destroyed at least 11 vessels in recent weeks as the Pentagon ramps up pressure on smuggling networks linked to Venezuela. Here are some extra stories that you're not going to find in the email edition. Under the Trump administration, 1.6 million undocumented immigrants have voluntarily left the U.S. this year, and another 500,000 have been formally deported, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The voluntary departures are tied to a program offering $1,000 in a plane ticket to those who register to leave on their own. Officials say they're on track to break all previous deportation records and credit the policy with deterring people before they even reach the border. But critics argue the crackdown has gone too far and amounts to overly aggressive enforcement. UPS surprised Wall Street this quarter, even after cutting 48,000 jobs as part of its major turnaround plan. The company brought in $21.4 billion in revenue and $1.31 billion in profit, beating expectations while closing 93 buildings and streamlining operations. UPS says the cost cutting has already saved $2.2 billion, and they expect even more savings next year as they push to run leaner and more efficiently. And more than 20 hikers had to be rescued on Mount Washington in New Hampshire after getting stranded in freezing, snowy weather without proper winter gear. Crews from the Cog Railway found the group and used heated train cabs to warm them up, with wind chills dropping to -5 degrees near the summit. Officials said some hikers were showing early signs of hypothermia, and several admitted it was their first hike ever. Rescuers are reminding visitors that winter can hit early in the White Mountains, and sometimes the smartest move is to just hike another day. On a personal note, I live in New England and I've never hiked, but I have driven up to the top of Mount Washington. Here's a photo of me and my husband before we had kids, and there can be a drastic difference between the temperature on the bottom of the mountain compared to the top, and the wind is so fierce. Still to come, Elon Musk launches his own anti-woke Wikipedia, and President Trump's granddaughter is about to make her LPGA debut. We'll break it all down next. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Juvenon. You know, I've been reading a lot lately about how circulation affects almost everything, from your energy and your focus to heart and brain health. It all comes down to one important molecule your body makes called nitric oxide. It helps open up your blood vessels so more oxygen and nutrients can flow through. But here's the thing, starting in our 30s, our nitric oxide levels naturally they decline, which can lead to lower energy, brain fog, and slower recovery. That's why researchers at Juvenon developed a supplement called Blood Flow 7. It's formulated to boost nitric oxide levels by up to 230% in just a few hours and can help open arteries by as much as 62%, supporting better circulation throughout the body. The formula includes clinically studied ingredients like nitrocyanidine, S7, trans-resveratrol, and bioperine, all designed to naturally support heart and brain health without caffeine or stimulants. If you're looking to learn about how Blood Flow 7 supports energy and healthy aging, just visit bloodflow7.com/TFO. That's bloodflow7.com/TFO, or click the link in today's show notes to see the science behind it and to learn more. In finance, President Trump has signed a new trade agreement with Japan, striking a deal with Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi that lowers U.S. tariffs on Japanese imports to 15%. In return, Japan is pledging a massive $550 billion investment into American industry, a move the White House says will strengthen manufacturing and supply chains here in the United States. NVIDIA continues to flex its tech power. The AI chip maker's taking a $1 billion stake in Nokia. That's the Finnish company best known for telecom networks and, yes, those old indestructible cell phones that we all had once. Nokia's stock jumped 20% on the news as analysts say NVIDIA wants deeper influence in the global 5G and networking space. And Amazon says it's trimming down its corporate workforce, cutting about 14,000 jobs as the company pushes harder into AI automation and tries to reduce management layers. Executives say the goal is to move faster and operate more efficiently in a shifting retail economy. Here's how the stock market did yesterday. The markets closed with a mix of gains and slight pullbacks. The Nasdaq climbed 0.80%, the S&P 500 edged up 0.23%, and the Dow Jones added 0.34%. Bitcoin dipped 0.40% to around $113,662, while gold slid 0.66% to roughly $3,976 per ounce. The biggest mover of the day was Wayfair, which soared more than 23% after blowing past Wall Street expectations, reporting third quarter revenue up 8% as more shoppers returned to the site for home goods. In sports, here's a fun fact for you. If you stayed up late for Game 3 of the World Series on Monday night, you really stayed up late. It became the longest postseason game in MLB history, 6 hours and 39 minutes over 18 innings. A total of 19 pitchers were used, which is also a record, and Shohei Ohtani reached base 9 times, breaking a postseason record that had stood for decades. What a marathon. Next, the Philadelphia 76ers have a backcourt duo off to a blazing start. Tyrese Maxey and rookie VJ Edgecombe have already combined for 182 points through the first 3 games. That's the most by any guard pairing to start a season since the NBA began tracking that stat in 1970. Pretty good company to be in if you're rooting for that team. In science and tech, Elon Musk has launched something new. It's called Grokpedia, an AI-powered online encyclopedia he says will offer a less biased alternative to Wikipedia. Musk has accused Wikipedia of being, quote, woke, and this is his attempt to give people another option for finding information online. A new global report is sounding the alarm about uncontacted indigenous tribes, warning that half of the world's remaining tribes could disappear by 2035. Researchers say logging, mining, illegal land grabs, and even online adventurers hoping for viral fame are pushing deeper into protected territory, threatening communities that have lived in isolation for centuries. And in the UK, government researchers are reportedly developing a homicide prediction AI tool, basically an algorithm designed to identify people at high risk of committing murder based on behavior, criminal history, and psychological traits. It's still in early stages, but critics worry the technology could lead to profiling or wrongful targeting if not handled carefully. More on this in the show notes below. But just out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on that? The comments section is always open. Here are a few more stories to leave you with today. President Trump's eldest granddaughter, Kai Trump, is officially taking her golf game to the big leagues. The Palm Beach High School senior will make her LPGA debut November 10th through the 16th at the Pelican Golf Club in Bel Air, Florida. And she's already committed to play for the University of Miami next year. Austria has a creative approach to upgrading its power grid. The country is planning to swap out standard power pylons for giant animal-shaped towers. The idea is to celebrate local wildlife while boosting tourism. So imagine driving past a 100-foot metal deer or an eagle holding up power lines. I kind of like it. And a mindfulness trend called color walking is taking off on social media. Have you done it? Have you tried it? Well, here's what it's about. The challenge is simple. Pick a color before you head outside and spend your walk looking for it in flowers, cars, signs, clothing, whatever pops out. Psychologists say it helps quiet mental clutter and boosts your mood by forcing you to notice what's around you. Try it sometime. All right, I wasn't here yesterday to ask you the question, but Amy did, so here's the results of yesterday's poll. Which mayo-style spread do you prefer? 42% said store-bought mayo, 21% said Miracle Whip, 12% said, I hate mayonnaise, 9% said other, 8% said seasoned mayo, and another 8% said homemade mayo. Wow, I want to try your homemade mayonnaise. That sounds amazing. Here's the poll question for today. What's your favorite Dr. Seuss book? Is it Horton Hears a Who, The Cat in the Hat, Hop on Pop, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Other, or none? Maybe you don't like Dr. Seuss, and that's okay too. For me, it's definitely How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I love the movie and the book, and my son does too. He's 3. So we like to watch it during Christmas. You can vote in the show notes below. I will read the answers in tomorrow's episode. And by the way, the links to vote are down below in the show notes. Yay, my stuffy nose and I have made it to the trivia. And here it is. Which president has the oldest known voice recording? The answer, President Benjamin Harrison holds that title. His 1889 speech about the first Pan-American Congress was recorded on an Edison wax cylinder, making it the oldest surviving audio of a U.S. president. By the way, a recording of Rutherford B. Hayes once existed, but it's been lost. Someone has lost it. Anyways, thank you so much. That is it for today's Flyover podcast. Thank you for watching, sharing, supporting the show. If you didn't know, we deliver headlines 7 days a week. And on Fridays, you get a bonus, fantastic feel-good flyover episode with Amy Hess. By the way, I will be back tomorrow. I promise I'm not going to take another sick day. Just me and my stuffy nose will be back with more headlines. Until then, thanks for flying with us.